Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So I've been making and teaching how to make jewelry for a very long time now. And one of the things that I hear all the time is, you make it look so easy. Well, that's because I think it is. So I'm going to take some simple parts and some simple techniques, and I'm going to teach you how to make your very own jewelry. So if you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. Okay, so for our project today, we're going to be using some 24 gauge vintage bronze wire. I also have one of these, or two of these new links from TierraCast. This is their Pure Vida line, where they've done a lot of their products that they already had. Like they've already had these sizes and this style, but they didn't have it in this beautiful color. So this is their 40 that ends in the 40, and it's their antique pewter. It's such a gorgeous color, and we don't have to go with all the bright. And that just matches up so perfectly with the antique bronze. So we're going to be mixing it with these antique bronze connectors. I've got some jump rings, and these are a larger sort of heavy gauge one. And I have some ear wires, and then some of their little tiny, they're just like a little, I don't even know what they call these things. They're just like a little, no, they're like a little nuggety sort of spacer. And then I also have a pair of bent chain nose pliers, some cutters, and a pair of pliers for our tools. And so this is a very easy throw together kind of project. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut myself about 8 inches of wire. So you will get one long piece of wire, and you want to cut that into 4 8-inch sections. So in other words, you'll get 32 inches of wire. So you're going to cut that into 4 8-inch sections. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is attach this wire. So what I usually do is just put a little tiny bit underneath my finger, so I've got something to hold on to, and then I am going to pull this through. So I go once, and then twice, and I'm pulling nice and tight. On the third pass, I take one of these little nugget beads. And these will be available in kit form, so you'll be able to make your own. So on the next pass, just got to get hold of that. Okay, so on this next pass, I'm going to bring it around and just kind of tighten that up. So now you can kind of manipulate these and turn them in whichever direction you want. And there you go. So that's all we're going to do, is just kind of link it on there. So a couple little things that I recommend is, one, when I'm pulling this wire like that, I pull against my finger. So it makes it naturally want to go sort of in a rounded motion versus possibly getting a kink in there. So I kind of do that, and it keeps it from, when it goes around here, it often will kink. So, and the second thing is, you do not want to be straightening this wire every 2 seconds with your hands, like, pulling it down like that. Because the more that you will run your fingers along on the wire, the harder the wire it gets, and then it will, it just can become super brittle. So don't be, try not to run your fingers down it too often. Just be mindful when you're pulling your wire around like this, that it could potentially kink up on you. So I'm always very mindful of where my wire is before I actually pull on it. So I'm just going twice, and then I put my bead on, pull it to the top, and then pull that wire through and get that locked in. Okay, so on the end, you're going to make sure you go around 3 times. And if you go like 4 or something like that, there's no law, there's no rules. You kind of just do you. So, and if that happens to pop over like that one did, then just boss it around. You can also use your pliers and gently push that together. We want to have this as neat as possible. So now what I want to do is pull that nice, and I'm pulling tight, and I'm pulling it through to the back, and I'm going to trim that off. And then on this side that we started on, I'm going to grab this end, pull it down so it's nice and tight on the back side, and then trim that off. I'm always using my flush cutter, so I'm putting the flush side down so that won't create any little burrs or anything like that. And then I'm going to take my pliers and gently come in on top of that little burr and just sort of burnish it down with my pliers. And I'm going to make sure that I do that on both sides. So I just find the end there and sort of push it down. So that's one side of the earring. So, and we don't want this to sort of go in the, we don't want this to be in the center. We want it to be offset a little bit. So if you find that it's kind of moved down a little bit too far, like this one's a little further than I would like, because, you know, sometimes that's what happens. You can try and sort of push them up a bit with your pliers. Just kind of get that, but that's what we want. It's just something that looks like that. So I'm going to take another 8 inches or so of wire. And so when I place this one on, I'm not going to go at the halfway mark. I'm going to sort of go off to the side. We need to leave like a little divot inside there. Okay, so I'm going to pull that up and then come around. So generally, because I have been working with wire for years, I don't have too many problems with it kinking. But if you do, just run it against your finger like that, and that will help naturally create that roundness that you are wanting, so that you don't end up with a kink in your wire. If you do end up with a kink in this wire, it can very easily break. So, because it is only 24 gauge wire, but we need that sort of thin wire to be able to do this. So it's kind of one of those things that you have to be mindful of the wire and what you're doing with it. Okay, so just pull that in nice and tight, so that we're going to count that as our first wrap around. And then we're going to have our second one. And then when I come back through for the next one, there we go. There, I'm going to put my little bead on. I think these are like a little 3mm hex nut or something like that is what I think they are called. You know, it's funny. I always know the name of everything until I get behind the camera, and then I'm like, oh, what's that called? I have no idea. So now I can see that I'm getting a little bit close to that midsection there. So I want to make sure that this side is really nice and tight. So I'm pushing that up a little bit because I want to make sure that I'm leaving a section in there for my jump rings and things like that. So let's see where we're at here. I think we're going to be fine. Yeah, and they don't have to be exact, but we can kind of manipulate it a little bit after the fact too. So get that in there. So I think what I'm going to do is pull this side up a bit and then pull this one up. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted. It was getting a little down there because I need to have a section right here. Okay, so I'm going to go. That's getting a little bit, I can feel it starting to kink. So in order to circumvent that, I'm going to be very mindful of where I'm putting my wire, and that I'm not going to be, you know, pulling back on it or anything, because I don't want this wire to break. So there we go. Okay, and then we'll kind of fix this all up after. So I want to pull that tight and pull to the back. So you can kind of like pull that over before so it's right where you want it to be. Trim that off. And then this one that we started off with, you can take your pliers, grab hold of the end and pull it around so it's nice and snug. And then you don't have to do as much manipulating at the end. So now we're going to take our pliers and just kind of press those little burrs down. All right, so now I'm just going to have a look at it and move all the rest of this stuff out of the way and see if there's anything I need to kind of play with. So I want these to be sort of symmetrical, but they don't have to be exactly. I can see that this side is a little tighter than this side. So what you can do is just take your pliers and just kind of, you know, boss your wire around a little bit and just sort of make it do what you want it to do. And I can see that I have sort of a, oh no, that wrap's supposed to be over there. I put that in the wrong place. You know, things happen when you're on camera and I don't always see what I'm doing here. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. I think that looks fine. It's not going to be exactly, but you can kind of like, oh, there we go. I can move that up a little bit there. So now that's kind of what we want. It's just like, you know, some little sort of dangles like that. Okay. Oh, the other thing I forgot, let me go grab it because I completely forgot a part of this demo. I'll be right back. All right, I literally forgot the star of the whole show. So this is another part from TierraCast that they have just come out with in that new Pure Vida. So, and I completely forgot to put that out here. So we're going to take one of their large jump rings. It says 5 millimeters, but it's 5 millimeters inside. And these are a 16 gauge. They're a nice big sort of, as I would call, skookum size. And I really like to work with these when I'm trying to mix these big rings. So I'm just going to attach that little star on the bottom there. And then I'm going to take another one of these rings. And this is why we need to leave that little gap in the center. So we've got a place for that to live. And now with these, you want to make sure that you're going in the whatever direction you decide. If you want that's like a little heart. I mean, you could have it upside down heart, but I want it to go that way. Pop that on. And then I've got a pair of their ear wires that I love so much. And this is the sort of gray color that they have, which goes nicely with that. And I'm going to put that through there and then tighten that up. So I'm just going to finish the other one off camera and I'll be right back. All right, so there we go. There is the finished pair. So it's really hard to show these ones because when you lay them down, everything kind of turns, but you can kind of see there, I guess. But I just think they're really cute. I've always loved mixing my metals together. I've always loved that sort of dark antique pewter look mixed with the antique brass. I think it just is such a nice contrast. And I just love these little star charms. They have a little Swarovski in there. So they've got that little bit of bling and it just works so nicely with the rest of the components in there. So if you're looking to get these as your own kit, you just go to the description box below this video and there's a link that will take you directly to my Fully Secure website. So I hope you enjoyed these. If you did, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment as I do love to hear from everybody. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you do so. I want to thank you so much for watching and we will see you on the next one.